Welcome to the Sci-Fi Continuum. I'm Stan, your narrator. Make sure you subscribe to our channel for more stories. I'm not saying you can't stare, Commander, IfI said, tapping the curve of her chin with a gloved fingertip. Just keep those hands to yourself until I give the green light. Wesley Lunn laughed, a low bark that startled the nearby maintenance bots. You're a tease, IfI. One more second and I'll be rewriting the regulations on professional conduct. The corridor to the medbay on the SS Aegis was a blur of chrome and soft orange glows. A dozen crew members hustled past, eyes glued to their displays, the hum of the ship a constant background. In this floating citadel of humanity's greatest achievements, an alien with blue skin and a dress that hugged every sin would have been a minor curiosity. IfI, however, was anything but minor. Humanity had spent the last 2 centuries convincing every sentient race that we were the big-picture species. The Galactic Alliance was a patchwork of cultures, each with its own quirks, technologies, and taboos. The Aegis was the flagship of that alliance, a sleek slab of alloy that carried diplomats, scientists, soldiers, and a few very nervous interns. Wesley Lunn was the senior tactical officer, a man with a square jaw, a reputation for getting the job done, and a habit of keeping his boots polished to a mirror shine. He had spent most of his career on star-hopping missions, but the Aegis assignment was different. It was a diplomatic posting, with a heavy dose of keep your eyes on the stars, not on the crew. IfI, officially Chief Nanomedic, Zephyri Division, was a striking figure. Her skin was the shade of a summer sky, her hair a cascade of auburn that fell to her shoulders. Her eyes glowed green, framed by lashes that seemed to flutter on their own. She wore a high-necked, sleeveless dress of pale yellow vinyl that clung to her form, the halter ties pulling snugly around her neck. The dress was daring. The neckline plunged low enough to make a seasoned human officer glance twice, and her ample bust was impossible to ignore. When she stepped onto the Aegis, the entire medical bay fell silent for a heartbeat. Her presence was a reminder that the Alliance was more than just humans in sleek uniforms. Commander, I've completed the nanite infusion protocol for the hull reinforcement, she reported, voice smooth and soft. All systems are within 0.2% of optimal. Wesley raised an eyebrow. Good work, IfI, and the new bioshield? It's in place. The only thing left is the, operational test. She glanced at him, a playful flicker in her gaze. I think you'll enjoy the results. He smirked. I'm all ears, Doctor. She stepped closer, the pinkish reflection of orange corridor lights catching the glossy surface of her dress. You can look, Commander. She raised a gloved hand, letting her fingertips brush the edge of her own thigh. But not touch. Not yet. Wesley's pulse quickened, the old heat of a man who had seen his share of battle and was suddenly reminded how easy it was to be young again. When do we get the touch part, then? IfI leaned in, lips parting just enough to let a soft, orange-tinted hum of the ship's life support system fill the space between them. Only after the mission is complete. The Alliance's newest crisis involved an ancient Zephyri artifact discovered on the desolate moon of Viridian. The relic, dubbed the Core, pulsed with a strange energy that threatened to destabilize the moon's orbit, potentially sending fragments hurtling toward inhabited worlds. The Aegis had been dispatched to retrieve the artifact, analyze it, and if possible, neutralize its effect. The plan was simple on paper. Send a strike team, use IfI's nanotech to contain the core, and bring it back. Simple in the way a fireworks display is simple, explosive, dazzling, and liable to go sideways. Wesley stood in the briefing room, a dome of holo displays swirling around him. The senior officers were a mix of humans, a few reptilian beings with scales that shimmered like oil, and a diminutive insectoid with 6 luminous eyes. The air crackled with tension. Timeline is tight, the commander said, his voice amplified by a metallic resonator. If we don't secure the core within 12 hours, the moon's destabilization will reach a critical point. We need the team in and out before the tide turns. Wesley glanced at IfI, who was perched on the edge of a console, her legs crossed, the dress shifting with each tiny movement. You ready, IfI? She smiled, the orange paint on her lips catching the light. Ready as I'll ever be. Just keep those hands to yourself until the job's done. He laughed. Deal. The strike team assembled. Wesley, the tactical commander, Lieutenant Mara Jensen, a hotshot pilot with a penchant for sarcasm, Dr. Harlan Kessler, a human scientist who loved crunching data more than breathing, and IfI, the nanomedic who would become the linchpin of the operation. The Aegis slithered into Viridian's thin atmosphere, its thrusters humming a low, reassuring tone. The crew strapped into their suits, each one tailored to the occupant's physiology. IfI's suit was a seamless sheath of nanofiber, the dress visible under the transparent layers as a splash of color. Wesley felt the familiar weight of his laser rifle at his side, the cold metal a reminder of the stakes. He caught IfI's eye as they stepped onto the moon's cracked surface. She gave a barely perceptible nod, her eyes scanning the horizon. The core lay in a crater, a sphere of humming violet light atop a pedestal of alien stone. It pulsed, sending out ripples that made the sand dance. Position the containment field, Wesley ordered. IfI extended a slender arm, and a swarm of nanobots erupted from her gloves, forming a lattice of shimmering light around the core. The violet pulse flickered, then steadied. Containment at 99%, she reported, her voice barely audible over the wind. Good. Let's move. They backed away, the nanobots sealing the core in a cage of luminescent filaments. The team began their retreat, but the moon's crust gave a low, mournful crack. A fissure opened, spewing dust and rock. Abort! Harlan shouted. Wesley's instincts surged. He grabbed IfI's arm, pulling her toward the shuttle. The nanobots hissed, releasing the core as the team dove into their craft. Inside, the shuttle's alarms blared. The core's containment field flickered. IfI's breath hitched. It's unstable. Wesley placed a hand on her shoulder, his thumb brushing the fabric of her dress. We'll fix it. Together. She smiled, the orange of her lips brightening. You can look, she whispered. But no touch yet. He chuckled. Fine. I'll just stare. The shuttle rocketed back toward the Aegis, the core's violet glow casting eerie shadows across the cabin. The Aegis docked with a shudder, the crew's cheers echoing through the metal corridors. The core was transferred to the medbay, where IfI began the delicate process of denanotizing it. Hours passed. The ship's engineers worked tirelessly, calibrating the artifact's energy, while the tactical team debriefed. Wesley found himself stealing glances at IfI, who moved with a graceful efficiency that made even the seasoned human doctors pause. Your nanotech is impressive, Harlan admitted, eyes wide. It's almost alive. IfI glanced up, cheeks flushing a shade deeper than her blue skin. It's an extension of my work. You're allowed to look. Wesley's grin widened. I'm looking now. He let his eyes linger on the curve of her shoulders, the way the dress clung to her form, the gentle sway of her hips as she walked. She stopped, turning to face him. He nodded, the playful fire in his chest growing brighter. But no touching. She raised an eyebrow. You ever have a mission that felt, like it was about something else? Wesley's voice softened. All of them do. She stepped closer, the orange light of the medbay reflecting off her dress, making it shimmer like a sunrise. We're almost done. I know, he said, feeling a mix of anticipation and impatience. The containment field around the core flickered, then steadied. IfI's nanobots sang a low, harmonic tone as they sealed the artifact's volatile energy. The medbay's monitors read, stabilized. Mission complete, the commander announced over the intercom. All crew members are to report to the mess hall for a celebration. The crew erupted in cheers. the atmosphere turning from tense to jubilant in minutes. Eerie turned to Wesley, a mischievous glint in her luminous eyes. "You can touch now." He blinked, half laughing, half stunned. You said. She placed a hand on his chest, the coolness of her glove sending a shiver down his spine. "I said you could look. I said you could wait. And now? Now we get to see what happens when we stop pretending." Wesley swallowed, his mind racing through the countless training simulations he'd run as a tactical officer. None prepared him for this moment. He reached out, his fingers brushing the edge of her dress. The vinyl whispered against his skin, a soft sound that seemed louder than the ship's engines. She inhaled, her chest rising in a slow, sensual rhythm. "Don't rush," she murmured. "Let's make this memorable." The mess hall was bustling, crew members swapping stories, laughing over alien delicacies. The lighting was low, the orange glow from holographic displays bathing the room in a warm hue. Wesley guided Irie to a secluded alcove near the galley windows where the view of the stars was unobstructed. Their bodies were close, the heat between them palpable. Irie's hands moved to his shoulders, the nanofiber dress slipping ever so slightly, revealing a glimpse of smooth, blue-tinged skin. Wesley's hand found the curve of her waist, fingers tracing the line of her hips. She pressed her lips to his, a soft, electric kiss that sent fireworks through his veins. The taste of her lips was sweet. Wesley deepened the kiss, his hand sliding up to the back of her neck, fingers tangled in the halter ties of her dress. She pulled him closer, her body molding against his. The alien's breasts rose and fell under his palm, warm and heavy. He could feel the beat of her heart, a slow, steady thrum that matched his own. "Is this what you wanted?" she whispered, breath warm against his ear. He grinned, his voice low. "Exactly this." When the energy finally subsided, they lay together, bodies entwined, the violet glow of the core now a distant memory behind the secure doors of the med bay. Irie rested her head on Wesley's chest, listening to the steady thrum of his heartbeat. "You kept your promise," she said, a smile in her voice. He kissed the top of her forehead. "You kept yours too." Wesley's fingers traced the slick vinyl of her dress, the material whispering as he slid his hand down to the small of her back, pulling her flush against him. The alcove's shadows hid them from the mess hall's revelry, but the distant thump of music and laughter only heightened the intimacy of their shared space. Irie's lips parted, a soft sigh escaping as his mouth found the sensitive skin just below her ear. "Are we finally doing this?" he murmured, his voice rough with desire. She answered by guiding his hand upward, her own cool fingers lacing through his as she pressed his palm against the warmth of her breast. The vinyl stretched taut over her curves, the heat of her body seeping through the fabric. "Touch me, Wesley," she whispered, her glowing eyes locking onto his. "Make me forget the mission." He didn't need further encouragement. Irie arched into his touch, her hips grinding against him. They slipped away from the alcove, the mess hall's noise fading as they navigated the dimly lit corridors to his quarters. The door hissed shut, enclosing them in the soft glow of the room's ambient lighting. Wesley wasted no time, spinning Irie around to face the full-length mirror. He stood behind her, his hands roaming her body as she watched their reflection. "You like watching, don't you?" he growled, nipping at her shoulder. Her eyes met his in the mirror, a mischievous glint in their green depths. "Only when it's you." With a deft flick, he untied the halter neck of her dress, the vinyl peeling away to reveal the smooth blue skin of her back. His hands traced the curve of her spine, the texture of her alien flesh sending shivers through him. Irie shuddered, leaning back against him as his fingers dipped lower, teasing the edge of her suit. "Wesley." His name on her lips was a plea, a permission. He slid his hand beneath the nanofiber. She gasped, her hips bucking. The room filled with the sounds of her pleasure. "Now, Wesley," she begged. I need you. Whoa, you're tight, he groaned. The mirror fogged with their breath, the reflection a blur of motion and desire. Wesley's hands gripped her hips, his strokes growing harder, faster. Look at us, she panted, her eyes locked on their reflection. So beautiful. He watched her face contort in pleasure, her lips parted, her eyes half-lidded with ecstasy. The sight pushed him over the edge. IfI followed, her body convulsing. They collapsed onto the bed, bodies tangled, the air thick with the scent of satisfaction. Wesley brushed a stray strand of auburn hair from her face, his fingers lingering on her cheek. IfI. She smiled, her eyes softening. Wesley. The ship's hum lulled them into a comfortable silence, the weight of the mission replaced by the warmth of their connection. Next time, he murmured, his lips brushing hers. I want to take my time. IfI chuckled, her hand sliding down his chest to rest over his heart. I'll hold you to that, Commander. The stars outside his window twinkled, a silent audience to their newfound intimacy. After a while, they got dressed and went back into the mess hall. The celebration swelled into a night of dancing, laughter, and stories of the mission's hair-raising moments. Wesley and IfI moved through the crowd like a single unit, the ship's lights casting soft shadows on their forms. Mara nudged Wesley, grinning. You've got it all under control, huh? Mission, core, and the alien queen. He chuckled, pulling IfI into a gentle spin. Just following orders. The night rolled on, the crew's camaraderie deepening with every toast. The Aegis drifted peacefully through the void, a beacon of humanity's reach and the Alliance's unity. Later, in the quiet of the observation deck, Wesley and IfI stood side by side, the wide expanse of the galaxy spread before them. Do you think we'll have more missions like this? IfI asked, her voice soft, eyes fixed on the distant stars. He wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. I think we'll have a lot of reasons to keep looking. She tilted her head, a playful smile forming. And maybe touch? He chuckled. Only after the next mission's done. She snorted, the sound resonating with a gentle vibration that made his heart race. Deal. The stars twinkled, the ship's lights dimmed, and the pair shared a look that spoke of countless adventures yet to come. The universe was vast, filled with unknowns. But for Wesley and IfI, the only mystery that mattered was how far they could go together. The SS Aegis continued its journey, a symbol of human ingenuity and alien grace, its corridors echoing with laughter, its medbay holding the memory of a night when a promise was kept, a mission was saved, and the galaxy felt a little brighter. And as the ship's engines hummed a low, comforting lullaby, the alien girl whispered once more, You can look forever. Wesley smiled, his hand resting over hers, fingers intertwined. And I'll keep looking, as long as you'll let me. The cosmos stretched out endlessly, but in that moment, they didn't need anything else. The mission was over. The night was theirs, and the future, however uncertain, shone with the promise of more daring escapades, more teasing glances, and eventually more touch.